multidimensional.
Peace and power, family. You're now multidimensional. Tuned into another video, and today we'll be diving into the school of thoughts because this is very important. You see, I got all my markers here, and because I have a lot of things to say, so get your pen, get your books, because this is very important. Now, what's our topic today, fam? We'll be talking about Christ consciousness. This is Bible study, yo. Bible study 101, you get me? But then the Bible study that your pastors don't tell you, the Bible study nobody gonna tell you. Well, Foster decided to, decode the Bible and come tell you what's up. So anyways, as you can see in the diagram here, fam, this is the spine. This is a vertebrae and the bones respectively on the vertebrae. Alright, you feel me? So I will be enlightening you all on the function of these bones and what they represent and how I can relate them with the Christ consciousness. But first things first, I'm gonna break this topic into segments, right? First things first, I'm going to explain the vertebrae, right, for you. I explain what their functions are, and after that, I'll explain the whole biblical reference and explain how you can achieve Christ consciousness and that Kundalini energy in the most practical way. This has to be the video that gives you the answer. So take this seriously. Get a pen or something, But anyways, let's get on with the topic, right? So first things first, family. We're all familiar with the word vertebrae, Well, as you must know, each and every one of us have 33 vertebrae along our spine, right? And this 33 vertebrae, like it or not, I like to refer to this as our panel. This is our panel. This is our control panel, all right? So your brain is the transmitter and receiver of thoughts that is connected to your control panel. So this control panel has several vertebrae, several bones here that house several energy points that store and perform several functions. All right. Every doctor basically who heals people from problems and ailments and all of these things that have to do with sicknesses, they understand fully well that these individual vertebrae are responsible for several things. So a doctor has the idea. A doctor knows that if you're feeling sick, right? A doctor is well educated enough to know that, alright, maybe the problem might be from his T4 vertebrae, since T4 has to deal with, maybe the gallbladder if you have a gallbladder problem. But anyways, let me get to that and break down this thing, right, seriously, without maybe not get too complicated. Now, first things first, fam, we have 33 vertebrae along your spine, and respectively, right, this is the cervical vertebrae, cervical. This here is the thoracic, right? This here is the lumbar, and down here is the sacrum. Hope you can see that. And here is the coccyx, COCCYX, respectively. Alright. So if I'm going from bottom to top, the coccyx, sacrum, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical vertebrae, respectively. So these are all portions of your spine, segments of the spine. I hope I do the spine very well anyways. But yeah, without wasting further ado, without wasting your time, I'm going to explain what they mean basically. So now, the coccyx vertebrae has a lot to do with your pelvis, alright? That's your lower bone, root chakra, lower bone area, alright? The sacrum has a lot to do with your lower back. The sacrum and the lumbar have a lot to do with your lower back, basically. The thoracic has to do with your mid-back, and the cervical has to do with your upper back, alright? Your neck region, rather. Alright, you feel me? So, let me get to this, man. Now, we all know that Jesus Christ died at 33, right? Like we're told, 33. My understanding of the Bible is that the Bible is like a Masonic book. The Bible is like a book that has a lot of codes. The Bible is not meant for someone who has a normal consciousness to read, because you're just going to read it like a storybook. The Bible is a book that has a lot of hidden messages. And even till this day, I realize there are a lot of hidden messages in the Bible that they are used to occultically communicate or whatever. But then, this will break down some things you've heard in the Bible. And so I proceed. Allow me to guide you through on what this 33 vertebrae individually represents. So I'm going to be rushing along this, but get your pen to talk because I'm going to be a bit fast. So fam, the first vertebrae has to do with gravity. Right, this is the first, has to do with gravity, and then it is associated with groundedness, right? It has to do with gravity, but then the key word here is groundedness. The second vertebrae has to do with the first chakra, which is the root chakra, and the key word here is awareness, alright, family? The third has to do with the second chakra, and the key word here is feeling, okay? The fourth vertebrae has to do with the third chakra, and the key word here is discrimination. All right. Now, these are basically the pelvis area and the coccyx vertebrae. This is what they mean. So now let me graduate now to the sacrum. Now the sacrum respectively is the fifth. The sacrum respectively is the fifth vertebrae to the ninth vertebrae respectively. Like I said, all right. So alright, so this the sacrum has a lot to do with the hip bones, right, and the buttocks, and this obviously this is still located along the pelvis. Alright, let me just write this here. This is the pelvis region. Alright, feel me? So now the fourth vertebrae, right, the fifth vertebrae, which is this here, the fifth vertebrae, right, has to deal with the fourth chakra, and the key word here is love. The sixth vertebrae has to do with the fifth chakra, and the key word here is expression. Now, the seventh vertebrae has to do with the sixth chakra, and the key word here is vision. The eighth vertebrae has to do with the seventh chakra, and the key word here is divinity. The ninth vertebrae has to do with the eighth chakra, and the key word here is time. Alright, so these are key words important to notice, because these are key concepts that tell you that whenever you have graduated and unlocked, or rather these vertebrae are fully to be accessed, these qualities, like I mentioned, from bottom to top, groundedness, awareness, feeling, discrimination, love, expression, vision, divinity, time, are things that you become aware of and put as part of your conscious awareness, basically, and your conscious existence and awareness. All right, so you graduate from the level of groundedness to the level of higher awareness, to the level of higher feeling, to the level of understanding discrimination, to the level of understanding love, to the level of expression, basically. So like I said, this has to do with the chakras. Basically, the bottom has to do with the chakra points. All right, first things first. All right, so now so now in the sacrum region, that's the fifth vertebrae to the ninth vertebrae. We have, this is associated with the pelvis region, and this is located along the hip bones, right, and your buttocks. All right, that's the location. All right, you feel me? So now, boom. Now let's go on to the next part, which is the lumbar vertebrae. The lumbar vertebrae, respectively, has to do with from the 10th chakra to the 14th chakra. All right. So now the 10th vertebrae has to do with the 9th chakra, and the keyword here is the soul. Right, the 10th vertebrae, the 9th chakra, the keyword here is the soul. My board is too. I realize that this is too compressed, so you have to write it down, because there's no way I'm going to write this that you're going to see. So I'm gonna just be vocal enough, right, with the things that I'm gonna be reading to you all through my jottings. Right, feel me? So let's get. So now the 10th vertebrae has to do with the 9th chakra, and the keyword here is the soul. Right, and remember, as these keywords means things that you unlock and become consciously aware of. All right, family. So now let's get it done. Now the 11th vertebrae has to do with the 11th. The 10th vertebrae has to do with the 9th chakra, and the keyword here is the soul. Okay. The 11th vertebrae has to do with the 11th chakra. I didn't say 10th, I said 11th. The 11th chakra, and the keyword here is transmutation. Alright? The 12th vertebrae has to do with the 12th chakra, and the keyword here is connection. Alright? 12th chakra, and the keyword here is connection. The 13th vertebrae has to deal with, now we've left the realm of the chakras now, so now we've graduated. Now the 13th vertebrae has to do with feminine energy, which is yin energy. All right, so when the 13th vertebrae is fully functional, right, this gives your feminine qualities, right? This embraces your feminine qualities. Okay, you feel me? Everyone has a feminine and masculine qualities respectively, but anyways, the 14th vertebrae has to deal with the masculine energy, which is your yang energy. So this is 13, 14 respectively. All right. The 14th vertebrae has to deal with. So this is your yang energy, your yin energy, right? This is connection, transmutation, and soul. Okay. So and these are basically the characteristics of your lumbar vertebrae, which has 5 vertebrae. Okay, 5 bones respectively. Right. These are bones respectively. So like I said again, when you graduate to these levels, when these vertebrae are unlocked, right, when they are functioning, this amplifies your awareness of respectively your soul, your transmutation, connection, yin and yang energies. If your 14th vertebrae is faulty, right, this will most likely make you to have more feminine tendencies, and because your 14th vertebrae is just at that bend, you see how it looks here, this is just that bend before your back here. All right, so the 14th vertebrae, if your 14th vertebrae is faulty, you can start to act a little bit more feminine, But if your 14th vertebrae is active, you know, because it doesn't take anything, it's just a bend, right? This embraces your masculine qualities, like I said, yin and yang. So this has to do with the lumbar vertebrae, and the lumbar vertebrae is located in your lower back. So from bottom to top, again, from your 10th vertebrae to your 14th vertebrae respectively, they are located in the lower legs, your prostate gland, your prostate gland, your sex organs, your appendix, and your large intestines and small intestines, basically. So you can just jot this down as, you know, as an extra if you want. There's a lot of things I'm gonna mention, but I'm gonna just keep it simple, right? So boom. So now that has to do with the 10th to the 14th vertebrae respectively. Now this is located in your lower back, because now, so I'm gonna just put this here, lower back. This is building up the Christ consciousness gradually, you feel me? So now we have so now let's get on to the 15th vertebrae. Now let's go, now we've graduated to the thoracic. Now this is the longest vertebrae, because he has, you know, he has 12, right? He has, like, how many does he have again? He has 12. So it's T1 to T12 respectively. The lumbar often referred to L1 to, you know, L5. The sacrum is S1, and the coccyx can be, you know, usually referred to as S2. Anyways, so now, so we're dealing with the mid-back region now, which is the thoracic vertebrae. And now the thoracic vertebrae respectively, let's get on with this. The 15th vertebrae, right, from where we stopped, the 15th vertebrae has to do with polarity and balance, right, which is now when you've mastered when you've transcended the yin energy and your yang energy, and now hence you have polarity, because now you have the yin energy and the yang energy in polarity, right? And now the 16th vertebrae has to do with opposition energy balance. So this simply means, right, this 15 here. So 16, opposition energy balance. This means that if you're if you're more masculine, if you're a guy, opposition energy balance simply means that now you know, everybody needs both energy. So this means that you're gonna have if you're a guy who's overly masculine, normally who is meant to be more masculine, this means that you now create a harmony between your masculine and basically, this means you create a balance between your masculine and feminine. So you have feminine energy that, you know, matches up to your masculine energy. So this means you're not too masculine, or if you're female, you're not too feminine, because now you've added that extra energy, alright? Because now, so that's basically what it means, opposition energy balance. So that is your 16th vertebrae. Your 17th vertebrae has to do with harmonizing energy, right? So it's harmonizing the two energies now between the masculine and the feminine that you have obtained, and now you're putting them both to functional use, alright? So now let's get on to the 18th vertebrae. Has to do with freedom of will. Okay, the 19th vertebrae has to do with the Kundalini energy, right? This is where, you know, you start to access all these things, right? Remember, these are parts of your vertebrae that whenever they are faulty, doctors can know how to handle them and operate on them, because like I said, this is our control panel. This is our main brain, to be honest. This is like the very intelligent part of our body. This is where everything is mapped out in your spine. So if you have a problem with your spine, it's crazy. And this is why yoga is so important. Oh, this thing's getting dark. Let me increase the brightness. This is why yoga is very important. Yoga is so important because it helps us to create the flow, and, you know, doing certain yoga meditations and poses helps us to align the flow of energy in our vertebrae, alright? So if you do yoga, you can notice how this actually can help your Kundalini energy and help with the proper posture, hence creating a balance and well-functioning, you know, flow of energy in your vertebrae, along your vertebrae. Anyway, so now let's go. So now that's the 19th. The 20th vertebrae has to do with mastery, and the key word here is higher thinking. So I'm gonna just write that 20. The 21st has to do with abundance, and the key word here is enlightenment. The 22nd has to do with clarity. The 23rd has to do with law of cause and effect consciousness. So now here you've come to a clear awareness of the law. You've come to a clear awareness of law of cause and effect. This is basically graduation in consciousness, all right? So graduating along the consciousness of your spine. Okay, this is why if you're constantly, maybe let me say, like wasting your sexual energy, or basically just, you know, not paying attention to the energy that you have, this can actually play a detrimental part in, you know, blocking your Christ consciousness. Over here you see there's a little brain I drew here, which is what I'm going to be explaining at the end of this. This is why I'm being a little bit quick with this, but so I'll drive the point home regardless. Now the 23rd vertebrae I just mentioned the 23rd vertebrae has to do with clarity and consciousness, alright? It has to do with law of cause and effect, pardon me. A lot of this is voluminous, but don't get me wrong. The 22nd has to do with clarity, the 23rd has to do with law of cause and effect consciousness, right? So here you're very aware of, if I do this, this is going to be the cause. This is going to be the effect of this cause. And now, the 24th vertebrae has to do with creativity. Just reading the 23rd. The 24th has to do with creativity, alright? The 25th has to do with manifestation, and the 26th has to do with alignment, okay? So, respectively, this is what the thoracic vertebrae talks about. So this is where these characteristics of consciousness are heavily, these are governed and situated in the thoracic vertebrae. You know, these are what these characteristics of these 12 characteristics of your consciousness. So as you evolve, right, as you go from the coccyx to the cervical, this is where it is. And the cervical is which is more directly connected to the brain, like I said, because it's located in the neck region or the upper back region. So now, I'll just state, you know, respectively where so this is L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. So I just state respectively their functions, all right? So so from the T12 to the T1, from bottom to top, right? This is the location of these vertebrae, right? Now, from the T12 is the small intestine, the T11 is the kidneys, the T11 is the kidneys and uteries, the T10 is the kidneys alone, the T9 is the adrenal glands, the T8 is the spleen, alright, we're going from bottom to top. The T7 is the pancreas and the duodenum. The T6 is the stomach. The T5 is the liver, the solar plexus. The T4 is the gallbladder. The T3 is the lungs and the chest, the breast. The T2 is hearing, right? And the T1 is, you know, the arms and the elbow, you know, the wrist, the fingers, the esophagus, and the trachea. Okay, just take your notes, alright, from me. So these are why, like I said again, and I'll say again, this is why doctors know what part of your body to treat, to do an operation on, because your vertebrae, your spine is your control panel, alright? So you can't have a problem, like I said, you can't have a problem with your stomach now, which is your T6, and you see a doctor who's educated opening your T12. Why? Because that has to do with your small intestine. So your small intestine and your stomach is different. Remember, these are all connected with nerves. So our body is technology. It's very important to understand this. This is why our ancestors stressed our ancestors always made reference to, you know, there's this diagram they always show that looks like it looks like the vertebrae, but it was always straight looking. They always made reference because these are the levels of consciousness. These are the gates of consciousness before you receive Christ consciousness. So anyways, so now that's the mid-back region, right? I'm going a little bit fast because I don't want to make this video to be too long, but yes, I want to take the point home, right? So now I stopped at the 26th, which has to do with alignment, right? So now the 27th, so now we've graduated from the thoracic region and we've come to the cervical region now. The cervical region now respectively is your C1 to C7. From bottom to top is C7 to C1. So now I'm going to start from the C7 now. So the 27th vertebrae is associated with peace. The 28th vertebrae is associated with wisdom. The 29th vertebrae is associated with enjoyment. The 30th vertebrae is associated with forgiveness. The 31st vertebrae, right? And remember, like I said, these are things, qualities you begin to just live in already. You begin to live in them. You automatically begin to attract them and they become part of your reality, right? You begin to live in them because you have aligned your chakras or raised your vibration or are now living in this reality, right? So it's like, when you master peace, when you live in peace, right? When you, like I said, everything you have to grow in all of them. So when you start to live in peace, right, this helps you to, you know, this peace is where the 27th vertebrae is at. So these are like laws and principles that we have to imbibe in order to be able to unlock the Christ consciousness, okay? You feel me? So the 28th, like I said, is wisdom. So I'm going to take it back. From peace, 27 is peace, 28 is wisdom, 29 is enjoyment, 30 is forgiveness, 31 is faith, alright? See where faith is very important. The 32nd is the divine grace and consciousness, right? Divine grace and consciousness. And finally, the 33rd vertebrae has to do with the law of principle, okay? The 33rd vertebrae has to do with the law of principle, okay? So this is the final vertebrae, alright? I could explain everything and just give ideas and everything, but I just don't want to stress on it because I know that, you know, do your research on it, just go further, but these are basically the qualities and the characteristics of what from the first to the 33rd vertebrae means. And this is why you see maybe like a 33rd degree Mason, they pay reference and they pay understanding to all these qualities, and they understand that by embracing these qualities in them, these qualities will help to achieve Christ consciousness. Alright, feel me? So boom. And what is Christ consciousness basically? Christ consciousness is living in your higher self and going away from your lower state and living in your higher state, where you can access divinity and, you know, immortality, right? For real, immortality. And that's it's a real thing, you get me? But ain't nobody ever gonna tell you this. If you aren't seeing this on YouTube, ain't nobody else gonna tell you this, you know, you feel me? Because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know how to be immortal, yo. You get me? So anyways, so yeah, let me just touch on the locations before I go further now to explain properly the Christ consciousness, right? In my own understanding and not, you know, with all this theory. So now, the location is, like I said, this is in the neck region, alright? So I'm gonna just write neck here. These are located in the neck region, okay? So respectively, from bottom to top, from the C7 to the C1, which is from the 27th vertebrae to the 33rd vertebrae, we have the 27th vertebrae is located at the thyroid gland, you know, the shoulders and the elbows. The 28th vertebrae is located in the neck muscles, the shoulders, and the torsos. The 29th vertebrae is located in the vocal cords. You know, it has to do with the vocal cords, the neck glands, and the pharynx. The 30th vertebrae has to do with your nose, lips, mouths, and your eustachian tube. Then your 31st vertebrae has to do with your cheeks, your outer ear, your face bones, your teeth. The 32nd vertebrae has to do with your eyes, optic nerves, auditory nerves, sinuses, tongue, your forehead. And your 33rd vertebrae has to do with the blood supply in the head, the pituitary gland, the scalp, the bones, right? The bones of the face, the brain, the pineal gland, the inner and middle ear, the sympathetic nervous system, basically. How you feel me? So these are nerve endings. These are the locations have to do with basically the nerve sites, all right, the nerve sites and the nerve sites of these vertebrae respectively, all right, you feel me? So boom, so I just put a clear picture, and I believe that, but after explaining this now, you should be able to just have a jotting that looks exactly like this, all right, you feel me? Just exactly like this, all right? So now let's get on to this. So now I want to quote a saying to you that was said in the Bible. It says, as your cervical vertebrae, right, as your cervical spinal fluid, which is your Christ, okay, as your cervical spinal fluid, right, which is cerebral spinal fluid, which is Christ, okay, climbs your 33 vertebrae, which is the Jacob's ladder, all right, and meets your 12 cranial nerves. Your 12 cranial nerves are located in the brain here, which is what I'll be explaining next. And meet your 12 cranial nerves, all right, which is the 12 disciples, okay. Wow, right? It ignites the pineal gland, which is your resurrection. So a practical approach of how to do this is, look, how do I ignite the pineal gland? So it's not like, so how do I ignite? At this point, I can tell you that I'm living in my 33rd, bro. I'm up there, right? So how do I ignite the pineal gland? This is like the flow of, this is what people practically call the flow of Kundalini energy. Like, so if I want to just start to live in my higher self, I can just start to meditate and just do some yoga. So if I go, at this point, you know, that is helping me to realign and awaken that higher self, that dormant Kundalini slate, that dormant Kundalini energy that is residual at this point, right? And then this will help me spiral the energy to, you know, meet my 12 cranial nerves, which is the 12 disciples, all right? Also, this 33 vertebrae tells you a lot because Jesus Christ died at 33 years old. Like I said, the masonry has a lot of 33 degree mason. This is a 33 degree they be talking about, you get me? So anyways, just put your own idea and your practical approach. Put your own idea and go further into understanding this. But this is where all this information stems from, right? We can go deeper and deeper and deeper and expand this topic to an hour, but I don't want it to be that long. I want you to just get the basics, all right? And just have an understanding of what you're not being told. So now, yeah. So like I said, right? So I just explained that. So it's crazy. The 33 Jacob's ladder and the 12 cranial nerves, which is the 12 disciples. Crazy, right? So I'm gonna put another quote here, right? Jacob dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. Jacob dreamed, right? And behold, a ladder set up on the earth. The earth is your body. The human body is the earth, right? As above, so below. So you are the earth and the below. But the earth, just get the point. So Jacob dreamed, right? And the ladder set up, right, on the earth, and the top it reached the heaven. This is heaven. Heaven is Christ consciousness, right? When the cerebrospinal fluid moves along the spine and now gets to the top of your nerves, your cranial nerves, all right? So boom. And so it's set up to the earth, and the top of it reached the heaven. And behold, the Lord stood above it. Who is the Lord? They're talking about Christ, right? But it's just a lot of codes and codes and codes, so it just gets us confused. But this is what they're saying, So boom. So basically now, this basically as explained, right? This explains, right? This just gives a point about the 33 vertebrae and the formation and the flow of energy in the 33 vertebrae. So now that we've dealt with the spine, let me clean this. Now let's talk about the 12 cranial nerves, which is the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ. All right. So this drives the point home. Okay. So now Jesus has 12 disciples, and I'm just gonna make this. I don't want to make this too complicated. I don't want to make this too difficult because this topic could get longer. But let's just do it this way, right? I'm gonna draw a brain here. I'm gonna just draw a brain so you understand. I just use the brain figure, a real quick figure of the brain, right? Boom, 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 boom. Let's see. This is like a top view, all right? So yeah, so literally I tried. So now this is like a top view. So let me just split this into half here, right? Boom. So now this is like the brain, right? Looking at it from like the top view. So what do we understand about this now? This tells us a lot about the 12. This will tell you a lot about the 12. Let's talk about the 12 disciples. The 12 disciples respectively are the 12 cranial nerves. And so the 12 cranial nerves, right? Hold up. Now we must understand that, respectively, I'm gonna tell you what the 12 disciples are. So I'm not just gonna be direct to the location, but let's just say the 12 cranial nerves is here like this. This is where they are. Respectively, right? Boom, you feel me? So there are basically 12 cranial nerves located in your brain. So as you see this diagram that I'll be using, I don't know, anytime I try to explain with a diagram, it doesn't show well. Alright, you see that diagram? So this is what I'll be using to explain it to you properly. Alright, let me get my video back right up. Now, boom. So check this out. So respectively, the 12 cranial nerves, we have which are Jesus' 12 disciples, okay? Now, the first one is the olfactory nerve. And this deals with smell, right? Olfactory deals with smell. The second is the optic nerve. And this deals with sight, okay? The third is the oculomotor. It's the oculomotor, right? Oculomotor nerve. And this deals with moving the eyes and the pupil, all right? The fourth is the Ironclear, I-R-O, pardon me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but I-R-O-C-H-L-E-A-R. The fifth is the Trigeminal. That's the fifth disciple, right? They be using stories to tell you all these guys' names that never existed. I'd be like, damn, bro, y'all be slick, but we slicker, right? We slicker. Anyways, so the sixth is the abducens. Abducens, cranial nerve, abducens, and okay, I didn't talk about the trigeminal. The The trigeminal has to do with the Ironclay has to do with moving the eyes. The trigeminal has to do with the face sensation, and now the abducens has to do with moving the eyes as well. All right. So I think one is moving the left eye, one is moving the right eye, or something like that. But I'm trying to just drive the point home. Now the seventh has to do with the facial. All right. The seventh is the facial cranial nerve, the facial nerve. The eighth is the vestibulocochlear. Is the vestibulocochlear. All right. Let me write this down. Let me spell it. Vestibulocochlear. All right. I'm gonna just spell that in case. I'm gonna just spell that for someone who might find a problem. Vestibulocochlear. All right. This has to do with hearing and balance. Okay. Now, the ninth cranial nerve has to do with the glossopharyngeal. The glossopharyngeal. Right? The glossopharyngeal. And it's spelled GLOSSOPHARYNGEAL. Alright, this has to do with taste and swallowing. Now, the 10th cranial nerve, good, thank God this time they calm down. It has to do with the vagus, right? VAGUS. The 11th has to do with, and the 10th has to do with heart rate and digestion. The 11th has to do with the accessory, right? It's called accessory. I don't know, it's called accessory. Like the way you know accessory, yes, accessory. And the 12th disciple with 12 cranial nerves has to do with the hypoglossal. So, boom, these are the 12 disciples of Christ. But you might ask, what? Okay, first of all, what do you mean by this, right? Now, let me go back to the statement I made real quick before I now explain the meaning of this, right? 12 disciples. Right. So, the statement, and I quote, as it was written in the Bible, Jacob dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and below the Lord stood above it. So now, we have transcended the earth, which is the 33 vertebrae, which is the earth, the 33 vertebrae. Now we are in heaven. This is heaven, right? This is heaven now. So, I will state this quote again to now hit my point and leave this place. As your cervical spinal fluid, which is your cerebrospinal fluid, all right, Christ, which is Christ, right, the Christ fluid, right, the oil, right, climbs your 33 vertebrae, all right, which is your Jacob's ladder, all right, and meets your 12 cranial nerves. It has to go through the earth to get to heaven, all right, which is your 12 disciples. These are the 12 disciples: Peter, James, Judas, all them guys. Them, I'm a finna name my own 12 disciples, man. This is no time for that. All right. So, and it meets the 12 disciples, right? It ignites the pineal gland, which is your resurrection. So you see, after the 33 vertebrae, when that fluid has, when that consciousness has been well aware of the 33 principles, right? The 33 principles, right? Which is the 33 vertebrae, right? And you've got to the 33rd vertebrae, which is the law of principle. Now you get to heaven, and then it unlocks the 12 disciples, respectively. Like I said, the olfactory, the optic, the oculomotor, all these many guys, them, you get me? And then when every one of them are unlocked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? It's like you unlock, it's like you're about to enter a house, and then you open the first door, you open your gate, and then you open the your door downstairs, and then you climb the stairs. Like you open 2 gates now, then you open the 3rd gate, which is the door to your living room, and then you open another gate, which is the door to your corridor, and then you open another gate, which is the door to your room, and so on and so forth. This, just imagine this to be 12 gates. So when these 12 gates in heaven are now open, it ignites it ignites the pineal gland, which is here. Alright? The pineal gland is located, right? This is the left brain and the right brain now, right? The pineal gland is located just in between the left brain and the right brain, and is held together by a substance called, or rather, is held together by a tissue called the basal ganglia. Alright, and the basal ganglia is like just a mesh that just connects. This is the basal ganglia here. Alright, so it houses the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, you get me? But this is the basal ganglia. So it's like a tissue that connects the left and the right brain. Alright, L and R. Alright, positive and negative. Alright, so it connects the two, and then so this is where Christ consciousness becomes aware. And then, you know, which is your resurrection. So this is the resurrection of Christ. So if somebody asks, are you born again? It don't mean you have to go to some water and put your head in water and come on. That's some bullshit. Are you born again simply means have you left the 33? Have you transcended the 33 vertebrae and gotten to the 12, you know, disciples? This is why they say Christ died at 33, because at 33, right? At 33, right? That is where, if at 33, when you fall from your 33 vertebrae, that's where Christ dies. So Christ dies when you fall from the law of principle down back to the groundedness, to the ground. You feel me? So it's just basically talking of, you know, as above so below, but basically the whole gravity concept, alright? You feel me? The whole top to bottom concept, you feel me? So that's the simple idea. So Christ died when, you know, maybe when one of the disciples betrayed him. The disciples betrayed him. Alright, the disciples left him. He knew, I knew you would leave me one day, blah 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 blah. You get me? So but then that idea here is, alright, then this guy decided, the factory decided, I don't want to fuck with you no more, Christ. Boom. He closed his gates. 11 gates are open. All of them fucked up. Peter the sly. Judas, you know, betrayal. All of them, they left, and then no one was left. It was just Christ at the end of the day. So then, you know, the Christ, you know, nobody to support Christ. Christ fell down and died at 33 because there's 33 vertebrae. So with that being said, right? This is the common theory, right? This is just my own way of explaining the theory of the Christ consciousness. This is what the Christ consciousness is. So how do you achieve this? By informing yourself, educating yourself, right? Enlightening yourself on knowing what this is, because this is true, it's a fact, this is what Christ consciousness is, and this is what, you know, all of these secret societies and, you know, whatever these motherfuckers are who think they know it all are hiding from the public, but this is the truth. And then you achieve this by living in, you know, in your true divinity and order. Alright, you feel me, fam? So educate yourselves more on this, you know, go more on the topic, but then when you learn that the 33 vertebrae and the 12 cranial nerves is the road to heaven, this is where you achieve Christ consciousness, and this is where you meet immortality. So with all that being said, fam, I hope I've been able to drive my point home, right? When you finally reach Christ consciousness, fam, you just access Kundalini by breathing, right? And that dormant oil, that dormant snake, right? So it works like this. It's automatic. So all I need to do is just breathe. And practice breathing and some yoga meditation poses that help me to create the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid to get to my head, and then it awakens my pineal gland, and you know I'm now experiencing life differently. This is how I live my life right now. My pineal gland is woke. My third eye is fully open. My pineal gland is activated. Alright, because now I'm living on the heavenly planes. I'm living in the divinity. I'm living in. That's why I can manifest information. I'm just living in my peace and in my truth. So, you know, but that's the key to Christ consciousness, and this is the key to tapping into information from the divine. So with all this being said, you're now multidimensionally tuned now from the school of thought. I hope I've been able to put this information in your mind in a way that makes more practical sense, you know. With that being said, you're now multidimensionally tuning out. Big shout out to the whole family who have been getting the multidimensional merch. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody who has been buying the clothes, who has been taking pictures of the clothes and sending to me, right? Any merch you send and you take a picture and send to me, fam, I'm gonna post it on my page because I appreciate you. You deserve to be appreciated and rewarded for what you do. So like, comment, subscribe if you found this information useful, right? And recommend it to someone, right? Because this is literally teaching someone how to really give their life to Christ. I mean, not giving your life to Christ, you have Christ within you, right? So don't look externally, you know, for the damn thing the Bible tells you about, give your life. Nah, it's in you, right? You feel me? So with that being said, You're now multidimensional in tune now for real. Thank you all for subscribing to the School of Thoughts. And until next time, peace out.
Multi-dimensional.